It gives you so many more scaling options.
Oh, man. This dude's got the power of chug. Go, bro. Go, 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 go. Alistar's locked in, by the way. Go, go, go. Yes.
Oh, and look at the smash on the head.
He tore his jacket with the flex.
Is that Corporate Mundo?
It's Corporate Mundo.
Let's go. That guy's having a good day.
Corporate Mundo chugs where he pleases. We've got the Alistar locked in to try to stop some of the Rell engages, and I would expect this Jayce to get locked in for Palafox. NRG is going to be wielding the same two swords that Cloud9 had in the previous game.
There's some good swords, man. You got physical damage from the mid lane. You got the AP Kaisa down to that bot lane. You have engage here with the Alistar. I want to see where do Cloud9 go. Do they go towards something like the Xayah? I feel like that makes the most sense here. That trade for Kaisa, I think, is really high priority, especially when they did grab the early Rakan, so they actually get the Lovers duo. Really, really a lot of strength there. It does mean that EMENES maybe targeted a bit more in picks and bans. He's going to be pushed down the list a bit, but there's a lot of AP champions you can mix in. They already have their physical damage with the Xayah, so I don't think Cloud9 is particularly concerned about the incoming bans.
Yeah, EMENES definitely has had a pretty deep champion pool. The only thing that people critique him on is he has not played very much Azir. He only has one career Azir game, and that one's self-banned
no
out
problem.
anyway.
There you go.
Taken care of. Problem already solved. Do they want to target that Ivern from Contractz, though? I'm curious if they're worried about that. Worried about the more traditional pick instead with that Sejuani. Going to take that off the table.
I love the signs, I gotta say. The sign game has been so good this year for LCS fans.
All right. Can they whittle down a bit more on this champion pool, playing into Jayce? Do they feel like they need to protect themselves from an EMENES Lucian or something like that?
Kasante.
That can count as an EMENES ban as well because of the amount of times that Cloud9 have flexed it here. Chovy having a pretty good Kasante game himself earlier as well. But Cloud9, no reason not to continue to focus jungle.
The shade, man. All right, C9 taking their time thinking about it, running down the clock. The Rumble banned out, wanting to keep Dhokla off of that powerful lane presence there in the top side. Yeah,
absolutely. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's a strong pick for him. It can give him prio up through top, and it's been really working well for them. Yes, they lost their game on it here today, but with both the games they played out yesterday, they were able to win.
And it's something that Cloud9 can't really use their red side counter pick advantage against because you can't really counter pick Rumble. Blind. So definitely worthwhile to get that one out of the way, especially seeing NRG already have the Alistar front line, so they don't have to put him on a tank. And they take away EMENES, one of his favorite champions, the Ahri.
So I guess instead, let's see what we get here. They can't actually lock in the dog. The dog is not allowed to be picked right now. They're just hovering it for a second.
It's a good dog, Flowers.
Yeah, I like the dog. Don't get me wrong, but you can't lock the dog. It's illegal right now. No dogs allowed. But we do have the croc instead of the dog.
What kind of weird world? No dogs allowed, but crocodiles are allowed in
Florida.
And cats, you know?
Well, we've got the Renekton locked in here for Fudge. The Jax is still up. This is one of those matchups that I would be excited to see Dhokla have the confidence to lock this in.
But it would also be a big change for him and for NRG. So I don't think they're going to lock it in, even though a lot of players are comfortable locking the Jax into the Renekton and trying to play that skill game, that scale game as well. This is what I really wanted. What I called for earlier, that Ivern does get through and Contractz locks it in. So much power here with the Daisy right now. Daisy plus Alistar allows them to move in. They can make much earlier use of that Jayce Kaisa.
Oh, he's going to go for it. Okay.
Let's do it.
So he hasn't played it at all in playoffs. He's not been one of our big Jax guys. He does have 2 plays on it in the regular season, but not something that I really associate with Dhokla whatsoever.
I do give him a little bit more leeway and kind of my vote of confidence because he also had not pulled out too much Rumble and then had really good Rumble games and has shown consistency on the champion. So maybe he was also hiding the Jax.
Let's find out. Annie would be a bit of a throwback. We haven't really seen Annie much at all lately. Was super popular earlier this year, where it was like basically 100% pick ban. There is just so much engage now on the Cloud9 side. That is an overwhelming amount of engage between the Rakan, between the Rell, as well as the Annie. You know, flanks potentially coming through from that Renekton. So you have got to really make sure you are on point. There's good poke over on the NRG side, but if you step a toe too far forward, you are going to get engaged on, you're going to get locked down, you're going to get burst out.
Yeah, it feels like that's what Cloud9 is saying is the answer to the Jayce and Kaisa that we saw them play so oppressively with in the previous game, is just everybody has a go button. Well, everybody but Xayah has a go button, and they're just going to dogpile them.
And
Xayah has has Ghost.
Back to the...
All right, she has a Ghost button.
That's close enough.
Even in the inception of League of Legends, at the very creation of the game, always the best counter to those poke teams, those long range.
Let's rock and roll. Game number 2. The sides are swapped. It is NRG playing from the blue side. They've got the Jayce. They've got the Kaisa. They've got the poke. Cloud9 has invested all in on Engage, and they're going to see if they can just close the distance faster than NRG can react. I'm excited to see what we get out of this one, as early on, looks like C9 is just grouping up top here. They know that NRG in the previous game wanted to try to do that tricky invade where they baited him into thinking it was something it wasn't. But now, with no PvP happening just yet, we're going to toss down to Gabby, who's standing by with an interview with C9 coach Mithy.
Thank you. All right, Mithy, I just want to know a bit about how Cloud9 was approaching this match. It's not the first rodeo of coming through the winner's bracket and getting to see NRG perform yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, NRG definitely stepped up. They've played new champions. They're, trying new things and definitely pushing us. So excited.
Switching things up, even flipping sides of the map. How's Cloud9 feeling in terms of all the engage that you've brought to the table? We should be in for a scrap, huh?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they're playing their kiteback comp this game, and we're playing the engage comp, so it's just about who is going to, be able to kite back better or engage better. So
see if we can lock them down. All right, best of luck in game number 2. Let's get to it.
And as we get to it, it's an immediate 2v2 at level 1. Xayah and Rakan, pretty adept at this. It looks like it won't be anything more.
Zven goes in, but it was kind of a nice dodge there on the grand entrance from Zven, stepping forward. Also worth noting that Berserker is playing heal. Both these teams are actually fighting so heavily for level 2, by the way. This could be a scrap immediately on level 2.
Let's see, Berserker
C9's giving it up.
Nope, yeah, NRG having the advantage on this when they can push him back.
So Contractz is actually doing the Ivern route where you end towards the opposite side as well. He's channeled all 3 of his blue quadrants, then on down to the Raptors and Reds, and will come through with his smite at Krugs. So he will end pretty early. Ivern has a very fast first clear if it's uninterrupted and unharassed, and he could end on the bottom side and look for something off of this lane.
It's why the Ivern pick can be so deadly in a jungle meta with things like Rell and Sejuani. These aren't early, powerful counter junglers. These aren't going to try to get in your face and mess with him, stop that camp setups, try to slow him down at all. In Contractz, you can see him marching back down through here, says hello to the chickens, picks up that grove. Dhokla taking early control over the wave, misses the cannon and takes the turret shot. You hate to see it. Top laners avert your eyes.
Yeah, that's rough, because now you start getting nervous, right? When you're playing against a resourceless champion like Renekton, you need to bounce the wave. You need to get it in. When you take that one turret shot, it can make it really risky to do so, especially if you don't have eyes on Blaber, which no one has spotted him just yet. And that's why Contractz is going to take his time, move into the enemy jungle, and see if he can find out where Blaber is.
And Blaber knows Ivern, with that quick clear, will be harassing him. So that's why Cloud9, Cloud9 put the ward at the entrance to that river there. So they did see him come in. And Blaber's able to finish off the Gromp.
Yep, Contractz immediately placing the Grove on the Scuttle Crab, then ready to smite it as Blaber goes over the wall with a crash down. Contractz is there and waiting. Both mid laners rotating over. EMENES has the health advantage, so NRG's got to be a little bit careful about that one. Palafox gets stunned up as he tries to go back into his own jungle, but now the accelerated shot blast, flash to the skies. EMENES is on the run. Contractz ready to chase. They turn their attention back over onto Blaber. C9 lose their jungler. It's first blood over to Palafox.
And that's why you go for invades on your pushing lanes. The bottom pushing lane of NRG. Ignar is the difference maker. They had the minion wave pushed up. That allows the Alistar to join the fight, coming through the river. And look at this call. You can see it right now on the minimap. He's coming up already. So that's why Palafox and Contractz stay in this fight. Palafox goes in, even flashes for it. They land that root collar, which allows the easy dash for Ignar to get there. And the first blood goes to the single best place there for NRG, onto the Jayce to really get him snowballing.
Meanwhile, up top side, Fudge has regained his footing in the 1v1 after getting shoved in early, as you would expect that Renekton to be able to do. And he's feeling just fine in that 1v1 matchup. Still just the gold advantage, pretty much being the first blood that was earned for NRG. Dhokla's going to make up any sort of deficit in that by farming up most of these minions underneath the turret.
But he'll always remember that -1 at the tower.
Yeah.
Cannons live rent-free in your head.
Forever.
Yeah, that is terrible, but he's just going to try to collect this wave. He's obviously very low on resources here. You can't stay in that extended lane against Renekton for too long, but a nice backstep there on the Q from Fudge allows him to go forward. He wants to clear out this wave, having as good of a buy as possible, but he can't actually. Now Fudge is 6. He's got to run.
Yeah, Fudge getting dominance there makes it such a serious threat, especially because Jax is so low on mana. Even if the counter-strike was off cooldown, he wouldn't be able to cast it. So he has to back all the way off. That feels really bad for Dhokla. At least he's able to return, grab his Sheen on the first buy. Pretty big power spike for Jax on that one, at least for the early phases of the game. And Contractz is right back to pathing through that top side of the jungle again. You can see him just hitting level 5 there.
Now, from the game plan for Cloud9, I want to zoom out and see if they're going to ever be able to unlock mid lane, as bottom lane there's trading already.
Wow, FBI already been forced to flash off of that one. Meanwhile, in mid, it's Palafox using that lead that he has thanks to the first blood, trying to put the pressure on EMENES.
Yeah, Ignar combos in, but Zven has the presence of mind, just goes right back towards FBI. And FBI knows if he gets charmed up there, then it's going to be the root from the Xayah to follow it up. So felt he had to flash. EMENES does have 6, he's going.
Oh, he wanted to go in, but he missed everything. Palafox is ready to turn it around. EMENES going to be knocked away as Palafox has to disengage now. Even though Tibbers, the initial cast missed, the AoE damage, the immolation, that pseudo Sunfire cape still poses enough of a threat that Energy doesn't go forward.
Really good flash from Contractz, though. Was very quick to respond on that flash. EMENES went for the flash W. Didn't have the range to actually connect. Contractz had flashed out in time, so he's going to get away there to safety. And even if your W doesn't connect on anything, you lose the stun charges from that. But Dhokla now potentially in trouble.
Let's see if they can get him. Blaber and Fudge, the 2v1. You would think this would work out in their favor, but no. Dhokla just drops the ulti, hits him with the stick, says, I'm leaving.
And the reason why Dhokla went this way and went so deep is because he had a minion wave at tower. Fudge is saying, oh man, we're going to try and chase this Jax. The Jax has flash. All my minions are dying at my tower right now, and NRG are getting Dragon.
Nicely played from NRG as a whole. Dhokla being the bait, while NRG lands the Drake on the other side of the river. They're up 800 gold in the first objective at 7 minutes. Awesome difference in early games compared to what we saw in game 1.
Fudge at the very least will get a play back here. Starts his recall just in range of that tower, so grabs a play for himself. While NRG does take a slight gold lead, you know, they have the early dragon. We'll see if they can keep this momentum up, moving in towards that mid game. I think Palafox getting off on the right foot is so big for this team because he really has been a spark plug for them. He makes aggressive moves. He really is a catalyst for a lot of the action alongside Contractz, and I think having him in a winning position where Contractz has a clear lane to play around, where they can look for 2v2s, is critical of their success.
Exactly. This team looks completely different night and day when their mid and jungle is ahead versus those games where they're at a deficit. We saw in game number 1 the latter, where it looks like when they're at a deficit, and it ain't pretty.
Well, Contractz and Palafox are feeling good in this one. The Rift Herald has spawned. We'll see if they want to commit themselves to that now as well. You can see Blaber's also up on that part of the map. Dhokla getting the push. Also, one big difference here in this game compared to game number 1. Dokla's not running an Ignite. In game number 1, once they fell behind, it was even harder to answer Cloud9's macro plays because they were down that extra summoner spell. But this time around, Dokla's going to be ready for that. He'll be able to continue to match Fudge inside lanes throughout the game. Fudge, Blaber, and EMENES coming up here. It looks like we might get ourselves a 3v3.
This could be a 5v5.
Everybody is making their way up. C9 is going to have all 5 men here first. Contractz going over the wall. Nicely done. They bait out the Magnet Storm from Blaber. That is a huge cooldown for C9 not to have. Zven is still going to go in, looking for the quickness. Dhokla may be your target here, but he drops the counter-strike and flashes away. Zven ready for the follow-up, but nobody else is with them. Daisy leading the charge. Voidseeker only hits the Rift Herald. C9 gets chased off. They use their 2 biggest engage mechanisms along with the Dominus. Even though NRG didn't have to do anything back, they still have everything in the tank. They win by default.
Some critical flashes from the solo laners of NRG. First, Palafox on that Rell ultimate that you talked about, him flashing that critical, not to get caught there. And then Dhokla as well, flashing this engage, the secondary one over the wall too. Even though flashes are longer cooldowns, those 5-minute big cooldowns, it is less combat power than losing those other ultimates and those other attempts at the engages. So NRG with some very expensive and yet very worthwhile investments there.
Absolutely, and it was flash for flash from Blaber. You know, he went for that Q flash, it was responded to. Contractz also a really good job hitting the root caller onto the blue buff to escape over the wall on that ultimate that would have grabbed him and pulled him back in. So, you know, nice plays here by NRG. They're getting the objectives, they're creating the gold lead, and we'll see if they can keep this up. Now having that Herald to drop, I want to see where they go. You know, I do think putting it mid lane is the most standard, but honestly, if you can get Jax out of Renekton, that can really pay dividends in the side lanes.
Yeah, it's not quite at the values that we saw at the previous game, the opposite direction, but if NRG gets a lot of value out of that Herald, more than just the 1.5 plates that you usually get from the first one, they could have a lead equal to what we saw from Cloud9 in game number 1, which is absolutely huge to bounce back.
Zven's little quote about winning one game and it might not matter is coming more and more true here. And this is why a lot of people love these teams, how much action they bring, but also how from one game to the next, they can correct a lot of those mistakes and have a completely different look from draft to gameplay as well.
It's also been interesting, Palafox clearly respecting, EMENES in this matchup, went for a really defensive setup. He went for resolve secondary, took second win as well as unflinching, rushed Merc Treads, has Biscuit delivery, went D-shield, has perfect timing for the stopwatch. Like, he is taking all the defensive runes here to make sure he's not getting 100-0'd in some of the CC that Cloud9 has.
And he knows exactly what the win con of Cloud9 is. It's that hard engage. So it's a respect for EMENES and for Blaber and for Zven coming to his lanes, because we have seen multiple 3-person attempts towards the mid lane. Those Merc Treads, very, very high value, definitely. And we will see, can NRG finish this one out and actually scale to success, though? Because Cloud9, we have also seen them be able to just flip that switch, especially when they have this much CC on their team, to be able to win teamfight after teamfight and just fight their way back in.
I think that Herald timer on the scoreboard is accurate. It's running out. They took it close to the 8-minute mark. They're going to need to drop that soon on NRG's side if they want to get anything out of it. You can see Contractz hanging around mid, trying to get an opportunity to use it right now, as Fudge and Blaber are going for the 2v1 on Dhokla underneath the turret. He finally pops the counter-strike here, looking for a lot of damage back onto the Croc, but Dominus gives him plenty of HP to guarantee they get what they came for. C9 making the play in top side, and they're going to get paid for it.
Cloud9 just played that so well. You just stand directly on top of the Jax, and you force him to use that counter-strike, because you can't always react once the stun is going to come through. And if the Shattering Strike or the stun from the Renekton comes through first, you're going to die 100-0. But they don't pull turret aggro before you use it. As soon as Dhokla spends it, you are dead to rights if you can't just 100-0 the Renekton from that spot. So Cloud9, really clean dive up on the top side, putting Fudge ahead on the Renekton. It will be an objective trade, though, down on that bottom side. Another Dragon going the way of NRG, and we'll have to find out what is the soul going to be.
Let's see here. Hold on. Contractz and Daisy will be able to take care of this. Come on, get rid of it.
I would say
like
Infernal is what you're hoping for with this Pokemon.
You definitely don't want the Gas Dragon. All right, they
also
got
really
the Hex Tech. That is a huge one. Pretty much every team comp loves to get this Drake stacked towards this Soul, so that'll be a win con for NRG.
That's what I was going to say, is the premium pick for poke comps, because then your poke is also going to be able to land that slow. Then your opponent has a harder time dodging, the other person's poke, Palafox or FBI, whoever landed the first one. So this is actually massive if they can continue to control the bottom side of the map. But that is a big if. Yep. Because Cloud9, they willingly gave up Dragon number 2 to go for that top dive play, and they got a bunch of money for it. So they've chopped down on that gold lead very, very significantly. It almost doesn't even matter.
Yeah, I mean, Fudge is now 1,500 gold ahead in that 1v1 on top side, right? They've taken so many plates. He is really going to be that source of strength for Cloud9. In fact, he's actually the richest person in the game right now. So they're going to be counting on the fact that Fudge and EMENES are both going to have a level 11 for this next Dragon. They're going to be looking to fight around it and utilize them as these massive points of power.
NRG need to work around that fact. Thankfully for them, they have a lot of answers for a Renekton. Yeah. In team fighting, it is very hard to fight as Renekton if you do not have your flash, especially against an Ivern and an Alistar here, both with a lot of peel options for the Cloud9, for the NRG carries, excuse me. So Fudge will have to be very protective of his flash, need that if they want to win the team fight, as well as still having a hard time navigating through all of that peel to the backline.
I want to point out something that is similar to game number 1 here in the Kaisa builds. You can see the lost chapter in the inventory of FBI. Isaac, you pointed out how normally the Kaisas like to go for the Nashor's Tooth second, but when you feel like you don't get the chance to get off those auto attacks, it's better to go for the Ludens. I feel like that's the call here. That's the recognition from FBI too, saying if I'm in range to auto attack, they're in range to engage, and that's not the play.
Exactly. It's so risky when you do step forward. Yes, you're going to be looking for auto attacks later in the fight and don't want to only be using spells, but it kind of has to be after a lot of the major engages advantage tools have been used by Cloud9, or you're going to be putting yourself in that position that you could get 100 to 0'd, because it's going to be all pressure on Cloud9 to find those engages as Contractz up top side.
Yeah, we got Fudge having to get away from this one. The Dominus has been cast. NRG bringing in the backup. Contractz misses that follow-up root caller, but Ignar's there to make it happen. And Palafox is getting paid. The Goon Squad has found Fudge, and NRG hits them where they're strongest.
Yeah, you can say that again. They brought 4 members in Cloud9 now trying to rotate up and answer Blaber here at the crab, but you're going to have to give that one up, Bubby.
Blaber disengaging. NRG also only used the Jax ultimate there. They still have everything else ready to go.
They used both the summoners off Ignar as well, so he did commit the flash and the ignite, so definitely did commit a fair bit, plus the TP from Palafox. But at the same time, C9 is potentially looking to fight, but EMENES isn't here. This is pretty risky. They're going to TP him in.
Ignar over the wall. TP coming in. Fudge is ready to join the fight now, but there is no Dominus for the Renekton. FPI's back in the mid lane still. Rift Herald at about 5,000 HP. Ignar still looking for a chance to come in from the side. The Herald is going to be secured by NRG. They get the eyeball with no contest.
I love the utilization there of the Ivern brushes, right? They're actually just pulling out the Herald, putting the brushes all around it, so there's not even a chance for Blaber to go in and get that smite steal because he doesn't have vision on it.
Also, on the bottom side there, they actually don't commit EMENES to finishing off that tower. So bottom side tower still standing for NRG as well.
It's barely there.
That counts, it's still standing.
The wind blows a little bit stronger than normal, it's gone. But for now, it remains. Fudge gonna knock down the tier 1 up there in the top lane, equalize the turret count at 1-to-1 between the teams. Still a 1.3 thousand gold lead for the side of NRG. It's just about 60 seconds until that next Drake spawns. So I wanna go back to what you guys were talking about earlier. Hold on, I'm not even gonna have the chance. Dhokla's getting caught out. They drop both the ultis, but the Jax with the leap strike ready to get away. Fudge tries to chase after him. Dhokla just walked away from him. So let's go back to what I was about to say right before it happened. The ultis, the level 11s from Renekton and Annie, so big for the upcoming dragon fight, they just shot him against the wall.
And now that they're not going to have them, the cooldowns are actually too long at this point. You know, it will come up shortly after the dragons do spawn, but NRG, if they just start this up on spawn, Fudge and EMENES are not going to be that effective in this fight, and giving up that 3rd strike dragon gets pretty dicey.
Yeah, and Dhokla knew it. As soon as it happened, he's spamming emote after emote after emote here. Tongue out, walks away, doesn't have to blow his flash, just leap strikes, and we will see NRG. That is exactly what they wanted, kind of a gift wrap here. Now, next step, of course, is to do the dirty work, clear out the wards here.
Yep.
So you have full control through the river. They're even going to pop second Rift Herald here, so it takes down that tower and further pushes Cloud9 back. Teleport out for some tempo here down to the bottom side of the map.
They do have to get the Herald in range of the turret. They don't want it to just die without charging. There we go. All right, that's the 3rd turret of the game for NRG. All 3 of the enemy tier 1s now reduced to rubble.
And we'll see if Cloud9 is going to be able to get any vision. They need to get vision in that bot side river, so they're trying to play through mid, push up mid, then move into the river. But it's very difficult when there's this firing line here from Kaisa and Jayce. They're going to harass you at every turn.
Blaber stepping up. Dhokla trying to guard the flank and mark Fudge. Dhokla engages on the enemy jungler. Counter-strike has been used, so they got to be careful now. They don't want Jax to have to enter into the fight without that available to use. Daisy summoned up another Void Seeker. Connects onto Blaber, the enemy frontliner. Taken now below half HP. Healed up a little bit by Rakan.
Is EMENES going for a teleport play? They're recalling multiples right now.
All right,
I think they're just giving it.
They've got the Tibbers and the Dominus both ready to go, but it looks like, no, they're just going to surrender this Drake. NRG move on to Soul Point, not even 19 minutes into the game.
Yeah, well handled there by NRG. They don't need to commit to anything. The longer the fight drags out, the better it is for them. Just keep poking and prodding, and Cloud9 didn't feel that they were going to have an angle. They don't have the flash there on Fudge. They couldn't get any sort of a flank angle from Zven or EMENES. And I think if you just run straight at this NRG composition, it's going to go really bad for you.
It's always so risky to play that side of the matchup when your opponents have the range advantage. Always way easier for them to sit back, kite back, especially when you get an early lead like NRG did. And it's really big for NRG to show that they can play this other type of game, this slower paced game where they are the long range, they are the kite back, rather than what we've seen basically all summer long, where they are going crazy, fighting all the time, forcing so many things. This is one of the most controlled NRG games that we've seen all year.
Absolutely, and I think the key thing you're talking about is the fact that they're able to establish this lead, and now Blaber in trouble.
Blaber getting engaged, John, but he pops the Magnet Storm. He has the Aftershock. He's Rell. He's very difficult to kill. Palafox going in for the solo kill attempt on EMENES. Flashes forward, needs one more auto attack. Palafox kills him off before Fudge is able to reinforce.
Timbers?
He even uses the stopwatch. Timbers is still just standing there. Redemption coming out from Contractz. Palafox goes to the skies, and Fudge cannot finish the job. Palafox stepping back up as the root caller flies out, and Palafox is reinforced with the shield. They're ready to try to finish the kill. Daisy throws him up, and Contractz smacks him down. NRG get 2 for nothing.
Palafaker heard us talking about a lack of action, took matters into his own hands. The god of Hextech lays down the hammer, and look at this beating.
Nicely done here by Palafox in the bot lane, flashing forward. He knows with the TP coming in from Fudge, the only way out is forward. Goes in, perfectly timed stopwatch, delaying the stun. Then Contractz is able to get in range for the redemption to buy even more time, and he just has to kite it out. This is so well played. Every time Fudge is stepping forward, he disengages with that hammer form knockback, making sure Fudge has no chance to finish him off.
And isn't even greedy. Doesn't even. That's the real life emote we saw from Dhokla. Tongue out in the faces of him. He even gives his kill over to his Ivern, the support that came to save his life. Now the Baron, though.
All right, Blaber would have to make a hero play to steal this one away. But if he goes in, it's a one-way trip. Baron at 5,000 HP. NRG with control over the objective. All the brushes down in the pit, making it even harder for C9 to know what's going on. Beautifully done from Ignar to knock Blaber away. The Baron is burned down, but can NRG escape the pit? Dhokla's at half HP. He's going in for the stun. He's found Berserker, who goes up into the air. The feathers fly. Palafox goes to the skies. Berserker's going to be taken low. He finally dies. Fudge with a shutdown back on Palafox. Both the carries on NRG are dead. Ignar with a flash back out over the wall. C9 cleans up 3.
Cloud9 do it again. The team fighting takes over from way behind against NRG. They're able to fight their way out of the pit. They get 3 kills there and keep their hopes in this game alive.
And it's key. If you trap yourself inside a pit here, inside the Baron pit, exactly what the hard engaged team wants. Even though they keep Blaber out for the smite, look at this engage. Fudge knows he's massive, and Zven goes in, gets the double charm into knockup. Even though Berserker gets cut off initially, he's able to get his Xayah ult off for a bunch of damage. He dies, then they're still all trapped inside of the pit with that amount of damage.
His repositioning there, though, was great. He uses Xayah ult, then he flashes to the opposite side of the pit, forcing NRG to fight through the Renekton, through the Annie, through all of these tools, you know, that are going to really defend him.
So, I will say, the 2 Baron buffs remaining are very advantageous for NRG because one of them survived is on the split pusher. It's on the Jax. That means you can still pull off that 1-4 Baron split and have both waves enchanted. We've got the next Drake in 60 seconds. It will still be an NRG Baron at that point. I want to see how they play around this and how they set up for it.
Yeah, it's definitely still an overall advantage for NRG because the gold is about even on it, a plus 200 there so far for the Baron play because they got the 1 kill back, they killed the Baron itself, and now it's about how much extra they can get with it. Like you're talking about, really does help on playing the entire map, on that split push, which sets you up for the Dragon. 33 seconds left on this one. Guess what? That is a very, very early Hex Soul. We talked about how good a Hex Soul is for a long-range team that can poke you out and apply it so easily.
And remember, no summoners on Berserker, no summoners on Zven for this fight because they spent them at that Baron, and Jax is pushing top here, looking to pressure the base because there's no TPs for Cloud9, so no one can actually go back and respond. If Fudge goes up there, then they're going to get a free Dragon Soul here from NRG, so Fudge can only go to mid, and Cloud9 is going to have to just start the Dragon instantly and potentially rush this. I'm a little bit surprised to see Dhokla basing, though. I guess he just wants to play for the soul. He's not going to look to split push.
He's ready to come in. Ignar also looking for a flank angle on C9. Zven going to step up, check the tri-brush. Fudge has already arrived. Dhokla coming in for the TP into the pit. The Drake itself down to 3,000 HP. They're looking to burn it as the helicopter finds its way into the back line of C9. A lot of damage on EMENES, but he ain't going to be killed off just yet. FBI barely keeping himself alive. Palafox finally getting the kill back on the Annie as Dhokla occupies 3. He looks for the stun. Berserker goes up into the air. He stays alive for now. Renekton's trying to tear through him, but he ain't got the damage. He can't do it.
Palafox on his eye
now. Palafox finds Berserker. He's found the enemy carry. C9 still tries to fight it, but Fudge is running out of cooldowns. They're after FBI. They may just get him. But no! NRG NRG saves their man. A triple kill for the Jayce and an ace for NRG.
And Palafox is teleporting topside. He's going to take down this inhibitor. Massive, massive stuff from the mid laner of NRG.
Remember the name, it's Palafox, and he comes up huge again for NRG. Gets the triple kill, finds the flash over the wall to take out Berserker, and may have just done enough damage to secure this second game.
Critically, the one thing that C9 got there was the Drake. There's no soul for NRG just yet, so it's not entirely doom and gloom, but let's watch this fight one more time.
So, Cloud9, as you can see, they go for the engage on the enemy jungler when the dragon is low, so at least they can deny that soul. They do get the dragon with the blade caller from Berserker, but the flank from Dhokla does so much work on that bottom side, and you see him force out Berserker, force out the rest of Cloud9, and Palafox flanking around that top side of the blue jungle so that he can get this route in to assassinate Berserker and take down Cloud9.
Was so incredibly well played there from Palafox. The presence of mind to look around the side from that angle. Cloud9 lost track of him. They didn't realize where the Jayce had gone in that moment, and he gets the accelerated shock blast. He flashes over the wall, finishes him off, and you can see the frustration on Fudge's face. He knows how big that fight was for NRG. That was the moment Cloud9 needed to get a big win and try to close this gold lead.
And so much props to Dhokla as well. He has had a rough bit in summer, but has been so good in playoffs for NRG here. And him on that Jax, getting the flank initially with 3 members, surviving it with the stopwatch that he went back to buy, by the way, before the teleport, and then going there for the re-engage. Really big stuff from the solo laners here of NRG.
On the opposite side, you guys talked earlier in the game about Fudge being the one who was the point of power for C9. He was the one who would need to do some carry work. Let's see if EMENES can find the angle here on Palafox. Goes for it, but he won't get the stun. Palafox getting away. Dhokla keeping Berserker occupied. They're still going in for Palafox. He's going to be kept alive for now. Re-engage to the skies. FBI coming around from the side. He takes out Fudge, and Dhokla survives in the meantime. Blaber stuck in the middle of 3. He's gone. Palafox unstoppable as C9 is now stuck in a 3v5.
Yeah, Cloud9 are in trouble, and EMENES dropped the ball there on that engage. He needed to use the Tibbers first before the W. The Tibbers had the range to get the stun. The W is shorter range. He went for the W instead. Whiffs on that, meaning that the Tibbers doesn't stun because he used his charges.
Edge of Night coming up big as well there with the block. 8 kills here for Palafox. Keeps that bounty safe. All right, let's see. Can Cloud9 do anything? Baron's coming up soon. And it looks like NRG are going to head right over for their ticket.
They're ready to go. They got the brushes again. They've got control. And they've got C9 nowhere close by. Blaber and Fudge both taking the Hex Gate into their own side of the jungle. The Baron not being burned down exceptionally quickly, but Cloud9 also not moving anywhere closer. Baron goes over to NRG now for the second time. This time, though, it doesn't cost him any lives to do it. They're going to have it for the next 3 minutes. It's only 70 seconds until the Drake Soul spawns again. Things are quickly becoming borderline impossible for Cloud9 to find a winning play.
And we're seeing how important these little item buys are right before the big plays. Going back for Dhokla to get the stopwatch initially for that dragon fight. Then Palafox getting so rich off that dragon fight to be able to get the Edge of Night, to be able to have the spell block there. And now with the Baron buff, here comes the siege to end it.
Dhokla pushing mid, everybody else pushing top. Daisy being the 4.5 man with this squad. Leading the charge.
Daisy, I'll give Daisy 2/3 of a person.
Okay, all right. Daisy's in there.
She got buffed.
Well, she's not anything now. She got deleted there by C9. So NRG's going to back it away. It's 25 seconds until the Drake. I feel like that's got to be the priority. You're going to go ahead and see the recall, and there it is. There's another stopwatch. FBI purchasing that. The Zhonya's purchased for Dhokla, so he's going to have another stasis to use in this next fight as well. All active items on Contractz is Ivern. We've seen the Redemption, and the Shirelli is used so many times so far this game already.
And critically, there are some wards here for Cloud9. We'll see if they do get swept out, but these wards could be those flanking wards potentially here for the Renekton, who has that TP available. But EMENES is still up on the top side. He's got to get down there. They're just going to give it up, I guess, is the call.
It's gone. There's no way you can do this without the Annie. NRG's just going to secure it for free. And there it is, Hex Soul for NRG.
All right, Cloud9 had made the call. Our last hope is a base defense at the inhibitor towers. maybe NRG will give us an angle and we can get a miracle team fight.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you give up Soul, you're playing for Elder, and that's basically it, right? You're not going to leave your base again until that potentially spawns. You try to hold on here, but it's going to be so hard. They have very little vision outside their base, and if you can find good angles for FBI, for Palafox, you can soften Cloud9 up incredibly before that fight does actually break out.
And I do believe the other additional issue, Baron is going to be respawning 30, 45 seconds before the Elder does. So if you're only going to fight for Elder, you're going to have to deal with an NRG that also has Baron again at the time. As NRG continue their 4-1. Dhokla very powerful on this Jax. Level 17 versus the level 14 of Fudge's Renekton that has not been able to translate that early power, that early massive lead that he had into a victory game condition here for C9.
Okay, Cloud9 have defended at their inhibitor turrets here almost long enough. One more minion wave to deal with here with only 20 seconds on the Baron buff.
Daisy's summoned up though. They're ready to try to push this, try to pressure this. Dhokla's making his way over just in case C9 goes for the engage. Flashes are ready all over the place. NRG does not want to overcommit. They don't want to throw this game away now. They got to make sure they're using this lead, using this pressure. You don't just want to allow Cloud9 time to scale up, catch up, make that gold lead more and more irrelevant. The Baron push will be denied. C9 holds the line.
They do hold on, and while it is always a concern to give your team, the opposing team, too much time, there's still a lot of room to grow as far as itemization is concerned for NRG. No one's capped out just yet, so it's not really that big of a worry just yet. They are going to be likely just getting back out on the map, playing through sides with this Jax, looking to prepare for these next neutral objectives. If Cloud9 gives them an opportunity, they'll be happy to take a fight, but I think Cloud9 is going to be on the back foot here for quite a long time.
Lots of items just picked up there. Imperial Mandate for the Ivern. Cyrilda's Grudge for the Jayce, so everything's going to be slowing even more than it was already with the Hex Soul. Nice Vow picked up for Ignar on that Alistar too. Berserker trying to get away from mid lane here as Contractz pop the Shirelius trying to catch up to him. Shock Blast does not tag Zven. He can get away in time with the Battle Dance. It's 2 minutes until the Baron. It's 3.5 until the Elder. C9 are going to have to decide what they want to fight for. Berserker going after the red buff here. Zven, got to be careful as he tries to step back a little bit.
Ignar could engage.
They're bringing Renekton over as well.
Ignar goes in for the engage. They find the knock-up on a Berserker. Ignar looking to tank these guys up here on the front line for now as Dhokla goes in for the counter-strike. Berserker's forced to ult here very early. Dhokla going to be locked down, but he survives thanks to the Zhonya's Hourglass. Berserker's still very low. Palafox on the side. That's it. They found Berserker. They found Zven. They found EMENES. They found the game. NRG are not going to let this be a sweep. They're going to mop the floor with Cloud9 in game 2. 16-5. Let's go. NRG's ready to go in this one.
Palafox leading the charge. Massive performance from him. And NRG strike back in game 2.
Cloud9 just got told it's not going to be that easy. NRG ready to give us a series, give us a show, and give us a final here in the Prudential Center.
NRG always steps up when you least expect it. As soon as you count them out, that's when they perform the best. Cloud9 was looking for that perfect undefeated playoffs run. It's not going to happen. We're tied up, and we're headed to game number 3.
They got